Yes, so the area we'll be focusing on today is the Hammanskraal area. And just to show you quickly, this is a map showing the Hammanskraal area. It's an area that's located on the northern part of the Gauteng province. And this is just another map showing the Hammanskraal area in relation to Pretoria. So from Pretoria to Hammanskraal is about 1 hour to 30 minutes. So it's not that far. It's a peri-urban area located next to an urban area. So yes, now you may be asking, why are we doing the study? Why is this study so important? What's the rationale behind the study? Firstly, it is important to understand the role of subsistence farming in a peri-urban area like Hammanskraal. As you mentioned earlier, that Hammanskraal is an area that has a high level of unemployment and a high level of poverty. So for many families, subsistence farming serves as a medium where they can get their income from. Subsistence farming improves the livelihoods of many families. So that is why it's important to understand, how does subsistence farming play a role in an area such as this? And if in fact subsistence farming is negatively affected by climate variability, this will in turn have a negative impact on the livelihoods of the community of Hammanskraal. Also, the second point by Nkosi is that subsistence farming not only increases the level or the food scale in the area, or the level of food availability in the area. It also has a potential to increase the diversity of food and improve household incomes. So that is why subsistence farming is important. And that is why we need to understand how climate change affects subsistence farming in an area like this. Because in turn, once we get to know that, we get to see how it also affects the livelihood of the people of Hammanskraal. Now, what are the aims and objectives of the study? Well, the aims and objectives of the study is to examine the perceptions as well as the level of awareness and the adaptation strategies of farmers in the Hammanskraal area in relation to climate variability. Like I mentioned earlier, like I pointed out earlier, that climate change affects everybody, but farmer A and farmer B, depending on the perception they have towards the issue of climate change, will in turn have different adaptation strategies to climate change. Therefore, although they're both experiencing the same problem, they will be impacted by it in a different way. If farmer A's adaptation strategies are more effective than farmer B's adaptation strategies, farmer A will be more successful and incur less of a loss than what farmer B will incur. So that is something for us to see. That's the aim. You want to examine the perceptions as well as the level of awareness and responses of different of subsistence farmers in the Hammanskraal area in relation to climate change. And the objectives are as similar. We want to document the nature of climate variability in the area for the last 2 decades. And I'll explain this further by, getting weather readings from the South African Weather Service. This is how we'll do it. And also we want to gauge the level of our awareness and range of perceptions of subsistence farmers in the Hammanskraal area about the nature of climate variability in the area. I mentioned this earlier, that not every farmer, has the same perception. Not every farmer is aware of the issue of climate change. So we want to gauge the level of awareness. How well educated are they about this issue? And also, lastly, to explore the range of adaptation strategies adopted by farmers in the Hammanskraal area in response to climate variability and its related impacts on the subsistence farming in the Hammanskraal area. So these are the aims and objectives. Now, how do we plan on achieving this? Firstly, this is our methodology part. We plan on achieving this firstly by the collection of climatic data. So we're going to be going to the South African, we're actually going to be requesting weather data from the South African Weather Services about weather data on the Hammanskraal area for the past 20 years. This is how we're going to be doing it, to get a better understanding on how the climate variability has affected the area, and get to see to what extent the area has experienced climate variability. With that being said, a graph will be plotted, which will give us a better understanding on the extent of climate variability in the area. Secondly, we will distribute questionnaires to farmers, to different farmers. Questionnaires touching on questions such as the adaptation strategies, how they perceive climate variability. Do they think climate variability is an issue? And are they coping strategies to this issue of climate variability? So these are the different types of questions which will be included in these questionnaires. It's qualitative data, so it will be distributed to various farmers in the area, various subsistence farmers. And the last 2 points, we're going to have to understand farmer perception and how they adapt. So this is a more in-depth, a more hands-on step than questionnaires, because here, if you can see closely, we'll be spending time with the farmers. We'll be spending time with the farmers, learning their techniques, the different techniques on countering, the climate variability issue, as well as seeing how they plant their crops. What type of crops they use. What type of methods they use. This will help us in getting a better understanding, and it's more hands-on than just your standard questionnaires, because we'll be conducting interviews and spending time with the farmers. And lastly, we will be investigating the factors that determine their choices of adaptation strategies. We'll be asking, why do farmers use certain adaptation strategies, and why don't they use certain adaptation strategies? Why do they perceive this issue in this way and not in this way? Is it related to their culture? Is it related to the environment? What influences their decision, their adaptation strategies, their perceptions? What plays an influence on that? So yes, thank you so much. This was the presentation on climate variability. And do you have any questions? Let's start.